Hello, Steve White, Steve White 79. Well, I'm a bit psychic. I mean, I was talking about this the other week and it actually hadn't happened yet. But MGM was bought by Amazon. I said that MGM was sold and I was like sad that MGM was sold because they were talking about something else. And I was just saying how I was finding it traumatic that like Fox had been sold and MGM had been sold and all these studios didn't exist anymore and they were being bought by streaming companies and bought by other companies and that, you know, they didn't exist anymore, and it just sort of freaked me out. But actually MGM hadn't been sold yet. It was just officially sold today, basically. And Amazon bought it for $8.45 billion, $8.5 billion basically. And so, and I mean, the idea was Amazon is basically a TV streaming service. So now they have this gigantic back catalogue of films now, like 4,000 titles, including things like the Rocky films, the James Bond films, Poltergeist, Raging Bull, Moonstruck. I mean, so many films. There was like a century of filmmaking basically, and one of the promising things about this is that now that back catalogue will be available. Like you will be able, in theory, they'll put it all on there and you should just be able to go and just see any MGM film, which is great because, yes, we had a lot of them released on DVD, most of them released on DVD, but, you know, unless they were being shown, I don't know who actually had the screening rights to them. I think some individual franchises and films people had rights to and they were being shown on different streaming services and stuff, but there are a lot that weren't, so that's good because Amazon did need film content. Now they've got a giant backlog that they own, and this backlog that a lot of them weren't being seen and weren't available now are going to be available, so it's good. But it just makes me sad that the studio's gone because they're gone now. They're just been bought and they're just an IP back catalogue for another company. Same thing with 20th Century Fox, and with 20th Century Fox, Disney just totally dismantled it and it doesn't exist anymore, and they've got the content, but because of the way they dismantled everything, took it apart, it isn't as valuable now because just there's no 20th century, it's just gone. So that title, that everything that meant is gone. Now, if they keep this intact for MGM, if it's like, well, we have our little MGM studios over here that you can just go and watch all these films, and if they still make things as MGM studios but for streaming, or maybe even still cinema as well, they can do a dual release, that would be one thing. But if they totally dismantle it and there's no longer an MGM Films in any, that would be a tragedy, just like there's no 20th Century Fox now. It's a tragedy. Now, Paramount Pictures is still, it still exists on Paramount Plus. Like they didn't, you know, they're just Paramount and CBS merged. They didn't destroy or dismantle anything, so that's a good thing. So, I mean, it's good overall. I think, like the thing with Warner Media and Discovery, they're calling it Discovery Warner Media now, and Discovery basically bought Warner, and it looks like it's going to be secondary. It's just IP, it's just back catalogue, the same way that 20th Century Fox is that for Disney. It's not good. It's looking like they're going to do the same thing as they did with 20th Century Fox, but it's not clear yet. They may just get their people to run it and get rid of the old people, but then it's not really that studio. If you get rid of everyone who ran it and was working for it and you just have your own people doing it, it's like, what is the point of bringing the content over if you don't have the people who made it and the people who are managing it then to continue to manage it and create new content? You sort of, they're buying these IPs and then devaluing them. And let's just hope that Amazon doesn't do this with MGM, because everyone who buys a big company, it's like they want to destroy it and take the pieces and then use them for themselves, but then they don't realize they're devaluing them by pulling them out and making them separate, and the pieces aren't, you know, equal value to the whole. So I don't know. It's a big deal. Although some people are saying it's not a big deal. They got it for a steal for that amount of money for all those films. And I would totally disagree with that. I mean, when you think about 4,000 films, like a whole century of filmmaking, all the great films from MGM, because MGM was one of the big studios, along with Paramount, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox. Are they all the big ones? Universal. and I can't think of any others. I know back in the day there was RKO, Warner. The big ones started off at the same time, and then MGM I think came a little later. Who was the other one? God, I can see their logo, but I can't. New Line Cinema, that was a new one as well. A few new ones have popped up. But yeah, I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think they're going to manage the content well, or are they just going to tear it apart and sort of make the same mess that Disney did with 20th Century Fox? I hope not. I really don't. But yeah, big news.